guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 148, and that show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show, and today I have 24 comics, so it's a bigger week this week. So let's get started. We're going worst pick of the week to best pick of the week, and number 24 is Scooby Apocalypse, issue 1. And I'm going to say I kept an open mind with this book. I was actually semi-excited for this book. I wanted to see a different take on Scooby-Doo. I grew up with the franchise, and I just thought it was really wordy, and I just couldn't get into it. I didn't really like anyone's personalities, and there wasn't any mystery or big mystery they were trying to solve, which is really the whole point of Scooby-Doo. And I mean, there was a mystery, but nothing that actually hooked me. So Scooby Apocalypse issue 1 gets 2 stars for me, and that's number 24. Moving on to number 23, which is the Mighty Thor issue 7, and mostly because it's this like filler arc about Loki telling a story, and it focuses on Odin's son, focuses on that Thor, which I'm particularly not a big fan of Odin's son, so I just couldn't get into this story. Now, if you like epic poems, you like Norse mythology, I think you'll like this, but for me, I'm interested in Jane's stories, so I gave this 2 stars. I am excited for the next issue because, you know, leaves this thing, but I thought this is very much a filler story, so I gave this 2 stars, and that was number 23. Moving on to number 22, a book that I think I'm going to go digitally for now because I just can't get into it. Extraordinary X-Men issue 10. And this continues the very lackluster Apocalypse War, where, again, it just feels very cluttered. I don't care about the characters' motives. The only moment I really liked in the issue was Magic and her protege, we'll say, where Magic gives away her old costume to her. I'm like, oh, that's a cute moment. You don't really get to see that with Ileana that much. Everything else, though, was kind of a bore fest to me. Artwork is good, you know, I don't know if it completely fits this story, but it's good artwork. I like Remus's art. So I'm going to give this 2.5 stars. It wasn't horrible, but still something I can't totally get invested in. So I'll read it digitally, see where it goes, but I don't know how long Extraordinary X-Men is going to stay on my pull list. All new X-Men, I think I'm moving to digital also. Just both X-Men titles have not really held me. I'm disappointed in the X-Men. Alright, what number are we up to? I think we're up to like 22? We're up to number 21, which is Pasi Walker, aka Hellcat, issue 6. Sad to see this so low, but this is also a filler story, which is weird because this book is not, you know, plot driven, so it's weird to say it's filler because I feel like most issues are just like fun issues, but yeah, it just felt like it was prolonging to get to Jessica, but really what made this really low is the 80s anime style, which I thought was weird and just did not fit. I don't know where it came from. That was really my biggest problem. Now, I like the cartoony style Pasi Walker has. I like the anime influence it usually has. But this was like, why are we in the 80s? You know, I was very confused by the art style. It took me out of it. Even though the story was okay, it was about arcade. It was cool to see Jen Walters out of the She-Hulk form. I like that stuff, but yeah, it was pretty forgettable. So I'm going to give Pasi Walker Hellcat issue 6, 2.5 stars. And that is number 21. So now we're moving on to number 20, which I'm glad to see is a little higher than it has been, and that's Star Wars issue 19. I just have not been loving this story arc. I thought this issue was probably the best out of the story arc, though. Focuses on Princess Leia and a character from the Star Wars Annual that I guess doesn't have hope in Princess Leia, and he says to her that, hey, you're a princess, you can't, you know, hold this whole rebellion together, you can't fight this war alone, and she says, I'm not trying to fight it alone, it's all of us who's gonna win this war. And then that's pretty much the end of the issue. Finally had that doctor woman from Darth Vader going to jail, so I'm happy about that. So it seems like she'll be written out of the story. And then we have one of these stormtroopers who has a lightsaber. So I don't know which stormtrooper this is, but that's happening. So that was a cliffhanger. Hopefully we don't have this dark art style for the next arc, because I really could not get into the art style for this. It was kind of hard to concentrate on the story, and I don't really think this dark art style fits Star Wars, but I gave it 3 stars. I thought this story was more interesting than the past, but still not totally grabbing my attention. So Star Wars issue 19 gets 3 stars. Next is, I think, the Obi-Wan Kenobi story, and then we get into our next story arc. Alright, so moving on to number 19, which is also a little higher than usual, but still a little low, which is Deathstroke issue 18. Again, not a mind-blowing issue. Artwork's okay. I like the coloring. But the actual issue, I like that it focuses more on Jericho and Rose. You know, we're getting to see their journey a bit. It focuses a bit on Ra's al Ghul, but at this point in the series, I'm like, I'm still not really attached to this book. So I gave it 3 stars. I think there's like one more issue left, and we'll see where the DC Rebirth story takes us after this arc. Alright, so moving on to number 18, which I'm glad I moved digitally. I might drop this book soon. I mean, it's not bad. It just has not hooked me in the past 5 issues, and that's Captain Marvel issue 5. Now, there are interesting parts to this issue, like, I think, Carol's heritage to the Kree, that, you know, she keeps saying, I'm human, I am Kree, but I was born human. Really like that idea. I feel like that's something that's not really tackled a lot with Carol's story, her Kree heritage, in a way, or really Kree, I don't want to say heritage, because it's not really her heritage, but her blood, I will say, Kree blood. I think that's the best way to put it. So I enjoyed that, but I think the biggest thing about this story, why I can't get into it, is the supporting cast. They're all very bland. They're all just like helpers, and that's it. They don't really have personalities to me, so I give it 3 stars. I don't know how long Captain Marvel is going to stay on my pull. If it does not impress me with the Civil War tie-ins, I probably will drop this series soon. So I gave that 3 stars. Alright, I think we're up to number 17. We are, and that is, yeah, it disappointed me a bit, Batgirl issue 52. This is the last issue of the Burnside Batgirl, and overall kind of felt fillerish to me. It wasn't a horrible story. You know, it's the Batgirl team defeating this villain at Gotham Academy. We get to see Olive, we get to see Maps, but the artwork it's not Babstar art. Facial expressions, I think, could be a little better. The mouths looked a little thin to me. But, yeah, you know, the story is just them defeating this person, and then Barbara saying, well, I'm going away now. Bye, guys. I feel like I wanted more of this to be a tearjerker. I wanted it to be, like, the solid goodbye, and it just felt fillerish to me, and I don't want to say rushed, but I just, like, kind of this dropping line of like, yeah, I'm leaving, bye. I just wanted a little bit more from that. So, I'll give Batgirl issue 52 3 stars. And that was number 18, or 17. I think it was 17. It was 17. So now we're moving on to number 16, which is Joyride, issue 2, which is a Boom Studios book, which this issue was a little weaker than issue 1. I actually liked issue 1 a lot more. Art style is still really good, but this is a slower issue, especially for a mini-series. It's our main characters kind of just running around a new planet. They find a new ally, and that's pretty much it. I was a little disappointed with this issue because I felt like the first issue, like I said, was very strong, and this issue was a little bit weaker. But I am going to see the whole mini-series through and see where it goes. So I gave this issue 3 stars. Alright, and that was number 16. Now we're moving on to number 15, which is the Robin Hood Annual, issue 1. And this is the last issue for Pat Chan's Robin Hood run, which is sad because I think he really put his heart and soul onto this book, and it definitely showed. And this issue wasn't too bad. I liked it. I thought it was a good goodbye. I like that it's Robin literally defeating her own demons while her best friend gets married. And of course she has these anxieties that anyone would have. You know, she's fearful she'll lose her best friend. But Marion assures her that she'll be married. You know, she has this new chapter in her life, but does not mean that that friendship will be gone. It'll just be, you know, I don't want to say different, but their lives will be different, but the friendship will still stay. So I liked it. I thought it was, again, a good ending chapter to the book. And yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars. It didn't blow my mind as much as I wanted it to, but it still was a pretty good ending. So I gave it 3.5 stars. Alright, now we're moving on to number 14, which is Steve Rogers, Captain America issue 1. I'm sure some people probably made this their worst pick of the week, but I have this whole spiel on my in-depth review for this book on my channel if you want to check it out. But to make it short, give you a Spark Notes version. I trust Nick Spencer to give us a good story. I'm kind of glad they're doing this. I don't, because it's probably not Captain America, or it's like some espionage thing going on. So Nick Spencer knows this character. I'm sure they're not just doing it like, yeah, Captain America is, Hell Hydra. He's part of Hydra now. There's another story to it. I actually think it's a really cool cliffhanger, because it actually got me more interested in the series, where I'm not a big Captain America fan. So I was interested in this little twist here. So I want to see how Nick Spencer writes himself out of it. And I think that'll be interesting. So I like that there was this ending that everyone's talking about. So I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was really good artwork. And it was a story that kept me interested, where that really happens with Captain America for me. So I give it 3.5 stars. Alright, so now we're moving on to number 13, which is Superman Lois and Clark issue 8. And this is the last chapter for the Lois and Clark series. And it was pretty good. The parts I didn't really like was the Henshaw part. I didn't care about the actual Superman adventure, but I liked the family stuff. I liked John getting into his powers, getting used to his family secret, and what Lois and Clark does to comfort John for that. So I enjoyed all that stuff, and it was an okay issue. Again, it didn't blow my mind, but it makes me excited for the future of where this family and these characters are going to go. So 3.5 stars, Superman Lois and Clark, issue 8. And that is number 13. Now we're moving on to number 12, which is X-Men, Worst X-Men Ever, issue 4. This is still a really fun book. I do think this is one of the weaker issues, but still fun. We get to see our main character, Bailey. He still doesn't really know what to do with loyalty. He has this extreme power. He might go to the Brotherhood, but he ends up telling Professor Xavier, hey, I was supposed to go into the Brotherhood. I don't want to do that. Just help me out. But then we find out the Zac Efron of the book, which I love that reference, is actually teamed up with the Brotherhood and kills Professor Xavier by the end. So what's going to happen there? It was definitely a good cliffhanger. That's what made the issue. There were some slower parts in between with the issue, but still so interesting. And like I said, a very original book, which I enjoy with this miniseries. And I'm excited to see how it ends. So 3.5 stars for Worst X-Men Ever. Alright, now we're moving on to number 11, which I'm sad to see this is a little lower than it usually is, but Cry Havoc issue 5. Still a very solid Image book that I've been really enjoying, something different. And I think the best part of this issue was definitely the breakup. The breakup between our main character and her girlfriend. Really, really good scene. And I love how the author writes about it in the end, because he has these little notes, which I really appreciate. They kind of go into the author's mind. But it was interesting, how passionate our main character is about this breakup. And how she's kind of very self-destructive about it. And then, her partner is just so mellow, because that's the only way she can react about it. She doesn't want to get angry. She just I also love this scene, because the author mentions, oh, I love this scene, where she's just hand me the dustpan. She's just looking at this random things, I gotta clean this up. I think it's very much a representation of their relationship. She wants to clean it up. So that was definitely the best scene of the whole issue. But it's also, her cheating on her partner, which was interesting. And then you go into this end part where she's pregnant, and it all attaches very well. And I enjoyed it. I like that's really coming together. And now I'm wondering when it does tie together, how's the story going to continue? And I still do wonder, I feel like there still is a story for the partner. Is she related to anything in the middle and the end? I feel like they're not mentioning her in those parts for a reason. So, still very, very interested in that. So, Cry Havoc, issue 5, gets 3.5 stars. I thought it was an interesting issue, but not as good as some of the earlier issues. But, excited to see what happens in issue 6. Alright, now we're moving on to, I think, number 10. Yeah, number 10 is Justice League issue 50. So yeah, this is a bit lower. I still feel very fatigued from this event, and that's why it is lower than maybe some other people are putting it in. I haven't seen any other ones' reviews, but it seems like it was getting higher reviews. But yeah, you know, I just feel it was... The ending wasn't worth the wait, I would say. I mean, I still liked, you know, big scene with Jessica Cruz. Jessica Cruz getting her, her actually becoming a Green Lantern, which I'm trying to find the page, because that's, like, one of the best pages of this whole book. You know, her finally being a Green Lantern, that was worth it. We have Lex Luthor wearing the Superman emblem, and also learning a little bit about Wonder Woman's, past with the connection to Grail and the night that everyone was born. So it is a good issue. I like the art, but again, I don't know if it was worth the 10 parts that Darkseid War was. So Justice League issue 50 gets 3.5 stars. And also I talk a little bit about the Joker thing in my in-depth review if you want to know more about my thoughts on that. Alright, so moving on to number 10 is the Totally Awesome Hulk issue 6. So I like this issue. I still don't really know how to place this book half the time, but I still like it. I like Totally Awesome Hulk, but never is like, oh my god, I love this book. But I think what made this issue for me was definitely the team up with Jane and Arden Cho. I thought that was fun, and artwork is really well done. I kind of like this glossy feel it has throughout the book. And it's also seeing Arden Cho trying to control his Hulk, which obviously is always a big story in Hulk. And it's a good story about their parents, about the death of their parents, and yeah, it was a fun issue. I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was one of its better stories, but still hasn't gotten like past that 3.5 mark for me. Still want this book to impress me more than it has. So that's number 9, and I give that 3.5 stars. Alright, moving on to number 8, a book that I've been loving and still love, Hyperion issue 3. This is a really solid under-the-radar book that more people should be reading. And it also still describes more about Doll, a character I've been really enjoying this year also. And learning more about her past, about being a fixer. And in this event, being able to save Hyperion because of her past. And we learn a little bit more about her past, and Hyperion learns more about Doll, which is important. And I love that Hyperion, you know, they're making this friendship now that he really does want to help Doll and figure out this whole mystery. And it's really that these two people are lost, and lost in different ways, and you see that throughout this issue. Hyperion explains his past about how his father wanted them to be gods and better and be okay with killing people. And then Doll, who doesn't know her place either, is these two lost people finding each other. And you're really seeing this awesome growing story with wonderful art. I love the tone of the book with the artwork. So Hyperion issue 3 for me gets 4 stars. Really solid issue, and I'm excited to see where the series goes. And if you're not reading it, it's a really solid book that I feel like more people should be reading. So that's number 8. Moving on to number 7, which is Tomboy issue 5, which I'm glad to see this book a little higher. But I really like this because we get to see our main character, Adeline, who is an Avenger. Her grandfather calls her, you know, kills people for, I guess, you know, good, but she's not a hero. And you kind of see the difference of what an Avenger and a hero is. And, you know, her grandfather says, if you want me and your father still to be alive, you can't risk your secret identity. And she says, but my friend just got kidnapped in this story, so she's going to be a hero. And I really like those themes and those ideas there. So, and I also like that as more of a focus on the adult characters too. So again, like the themes, like to see where the series is going, and I give Tomboy issue 5 4 stars. I thought it was a very solid issue and one of the better issues in a while. Alright, moving on to number 6, which is Daredevil issue 7. Very happy to see this book as high as it has been, because I've been really enjoying this Elektra story. And I like that Elektra thought she had a daughter and was tricked. And it was a really interesting story between Matt and Elektra, and obviously Matt couldn't see this cell phone and needing help to figure out what was on the cell phone and who was doing this. So yeah, it was just this awesome back and forth between Elektra and Matt. And also I like that actually had to do with, the thing I didn't like about the TV show is that it felt like Elektra was doing it because she was kind of a spoiled brat in a lot of ways. But here you get to see that vengeance, and also, her real emotion throughout the whole issue, and that I really respect. And even though this artwork is very dark, I do like the whites they use throughout the issues. So I think they brightened the book a little bit more than they had in like issue 1 and 2. So Daredevil gets, number 6, and it's 4 stars. So, moving on to our top 5 here. Number 5 for me is Miss Marvel issue 7, which really was just a fun book. I mean, the artwork wasn't perfect for, I think, Miles and Nova, but it's still really fun, like its own Civil War book, where it's Miles and Kamala having their own Civil War as their secret identities. So, it was a lot of fun because we actually get to see Miles and Kamala be friends without Miles knowing that Kamala's Miss Marvel. So they're making a friendship outside the superhero business, which I hope is expanded more in Miss Marvel. But, yeah, it was fun, and I like that as a balance between the superhero and the secret identities. You could call this a filler issue, but really it wasn't. I feel like it was, just a fun issue that we needed. So, Miss Marvel issue 7 gets 4 stars for me. I had a lot of fun with this one. Alright, moving on to number 4, which is Superman issue 52. And, this is mostly an action issue. It's a goodbye to the new 52 Superman, but the artwork was so gorgeous. Loved the colors, loved how it popped. And that's all you can really ask for a purely action issue, which is most of the issue, like I said. But then it's that goodbye in the end. And you get to see maybe a little sneak peek into Superwoman, how Lois and maybe Lana gets their powers. Because Lois is getting their powers because it was revealed that Lois was going to be the new Superwoman. But it looks like Lana might be involved in that too. So I'm very excited about that. I caught that, so I was happy. But yeah, it was a good issue, solid book, really great artwork. So Superman issue 52 gets 4 stars. That's number 4. Now we're moving on to number 3. Which is sadly the last issue of Weirdworld issue 6. A book that I think had a lot more story to tell, but I guess Marvel just didn't get the sales it wanted. Because it ends in a way, it's like, hey, if you want more Weirdworld, we have more story to tell. But it also makes you feel satisfied in a lot of ways. Because, of course, it's still the story of Becca losing her mother. And we have that main villain who wants to get the Infinity Stone and really tells anything to do so. Not even a lie. Like, she just kind of manipulates Becca, though, in her own emotions. And then Becca doesn't want to betray her friends, and she doesn't. And there's sacrifices throughout the issue. But in the end, I love the little fade out here where we have Becca and our wizard hunter say, "Isn't Weirdworld the place where the lost can be found?" And Becca says, "I feel like I've been found." And the wizard hunter says, "Me too. One person can be lost, but 2 are always going somewhere. Let's go." So it ends in a way, like I said, it ends where it feels that I'm satisfied that this is the ending of a really cool miniseries, we'll call it. But there's so many more adventures you could tell that they can have with each other. So I think this was such an under-the-radar series. I'm disappointed that it was canceled because the artwork was amazing. I think it had a lot of great possibility. So Weirdworld issue 6 for me gets 4.5 stars. I thought it was a really well done ending chapter to, again, a really under-the-radar series. So now we're moving on to number 2, which is Mockingbird issue 3. And I love this book. I thought this is so good. Going back into what I fell in love with this book with issue 1. And it's learning why Mockingbird wanted to be a hero in the first place. Why Bobby went into science. And it's her trying to save this young girl from herself. And this young girl has these amazing abilities to control light, which is very scientific. And you see Bobby using her science in this issue. And she says, I always wanted to be like Captain America, but I couldn't. And it's mostly like, well, because they were guys. But it's like, no, I couldn't because of these reasons. And, it's also about a hero being okay to fail. You see most heroes be like, no, the helicopter, I could have done something. But it's Mockingbird knowing that, the probability wasn't on our side there. And she's okay with that. Not that she's okay with people dying, but she's okay that she's a hero that can make mistakes. And I just really enjoyed that, you know, it shows that Mockingbird is not, you know, an A-list hero, but that's okay also. And that's what makes this character so fun, is her flaws at the same time. And there's a really interesting story with the little girl. I love the Hamilton reference. I thought it was cool because this issue is very much about girl power. In a lot of ways, I think female readers are going to get a lot of this stuff here. But also Hamilton is very much about the story of also woman and the story of the untold narrative in history with the Schuyler sisters. So nice little nod there. So I love this issue. I thought the artwork was great, and I just really enjoyed it. So Mockingbird issue, what are we up to? Issue 3 gets 4.5 stars, and that's number 2. So now we're moving on to number 1. And that is DC Rebirth Special issue 1. This was a definite pick of the week for me. This was amazing. I'm not going to go in extreme detail here, but you can go check out my in-depth review if you want more detail. But it was bringing the DC Universe back to where we like it. It realized all the problems it had, all the things it lost through the New 52, but it wasn't like, we gotta erase the New 52, buy new readers. It was, we can bring in the New 52, we can bring in the stuff we love about the pre-New 52 and make it one. And, you know, the return of Wally was amazing. There were tear-jerking moments with him and Linda, him and Barry. I love the Watchmen ending, because I'm a huge Watchmen fan, so I enjoyed that. So overall, 5 stars. One of the best books I've read in a really long time. Read this book if you haven't. So DC Rebirth Special is my pick of the week. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below, what was your worst pick of the week? What was your best pick of the week? And everything in between. And well, actually, I will say next week I will not have Comic Uno episode. I'll probably have mini reviews on Twitter and Facebook. So please check that out. I'll be back on a regular schedule the week after. But I will have in-depth reviews for like 7 or 6 books on my channel on Wednesday. So be sure to check that out. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later.